Okay. I think we're okay for now. Alrighty. In that case, first and foremost, welcome everyone. Thank you, as always, for making some time out of your day. I know depending on where you are, it could be morning, afternoon, or evening, so we do appreciate it. Now, usually, how we go about doing the town halls is, again, first and foremost, they are for everyone to attend. One of the things that I did differently, which was something that Crazy and I were talking about, he mentioned yesterday, was making the kingdom this channel that we're in right now public and viewable to everyone on the server. So I did change that as one thing, possibly in hopes of seeing if others might find a level of interest or find out again if there are people, because again we have been getting a lot of people per day that have been joining the Discord, and I'm imagining that the most of them, if not the majority, are from 2777. It's just not everyone may be familiar with Discord where they know how to get a reaction role. So one of the things I've been doing by default is anyone new that joins, if they do not select a role shortly, then what I'll do is I'll go and tag them with the 2777 verify role, and then I'll ping the verify role in the verified channel, once every 2 days or so. So that way we can at least try to maximize on the people that are joining if they're not familiar with the process, which again, some people aren't. Um, and so, let me see here. No. Yeah, sorry, one second. Let's do this profile. Oh, I have to add. Where's Ghost? I don't know why my Discord is going so slow right now. Where? Okay. Anyways, with that being said, we are pretty much going to go usually for our format that you may have seen if you looked at the meeting channel for Kingdom meetings. We have our state of affairs. We're going to do the province assessments. Give you guys some recruiting updates. We'll talk about some Zone 1 gates. We'll talk about kind of ahead for some Zone 2 information. We'll do an open floor question and answer, which can also just be, giving feedback or comments, concerns, etc. And then we'll wrap up with a conclusion. So I'm going to get the good kind of meat stuff out of the way right now. And then that way, just so we can kind of be cognizant of people's times. Let's do this. And okay. Okay, awesome. So it seems like Ghost is on it there for that. Oh, cool. Okay, so if we're looking at P1 right now, we'll just do a quick walkthrough and just kind of show a little bit of what's happening and going on here. So for those of you who if you want a reference point for where we are currently with how the overlay is going for the kingdom, you can take a look at that. It will be in the Kingdom Alliances channel, and you can see kind of our just current map layout that we have there, where we have SL. And again, from my understanding, at least based on how this reads, it does seem that SL is possibly LS's Academy. Again, they are decent power, but you can see here, oh god, I don't know if this translates or not, but you can see the family is LS, right? So I don't know if SL is like a separate alliance. I'm not sure if someone in Province 1 maybe knows that if you're here, or if they're just an academy for LS. Does anyone know if you're from C hashtag? Or if anyone's familiar with the situation? No?
Oh,
Oh, okay.
I
No
guess
worries.
not.
I can always ask later. or I'm sure we'll get an update later from someone. But at the moment, tentatively, SL has been slotted for the West third. And then you have LS here at the mid third. And then on the right third, of course, you have C hashtag, right? A few more alliances, right? Still active, not necessarily getting pushed out, which is good. You know, the idea is trying to keep alliances playing as long as possible in the kingdom, so that way we have more active players, we have more active alliances, and then eventually we can work on presenting and hopefully having just in general more opportunities to do merges, to try and fill players in, whether it's solo 1x1s or maybe group splits that they do if it's not necessarily a full alliance merge. And so again, the more people we have, right, the more cattle herding, if you will, that we're able to retain for a long period of time in the kingdom, which is only going to pay dividends for us going into Zone 2, whether it is filling the activity upwards or just bringing more alliances with us into Zone 2 so they'll stay longer to eventually and hopefully have those opportunities present themselves. Then we get to Zone 2. Zone 2 is interesting. From the map you can see here, and this is from what Crazy I think last updated me on, is that and we have 77R here in the light blue. We got W-W2 in, looks like a neon or light green. And for them, they're kind of, for the most part, making up the bulk of what it looks like the Western Third. Again, 77 PB being Crazy's alliance here, kind of rounding out the mid-third. You can see they've expanded pretty well. And then you got here Face in purple, right? And again, you can see it's slowly clearing out. This is, you know, as we talked about, it's very normal for what we're going to see in a kingdom over a period of time where you don't really have to do a lot, right? You don't have to go out and burn people. You don't have to go out and burn CFs. You don't have to go out and cut every single flag line. Alliances over time will start to visually see how things are playing on the map as one big factor. And they'll kind of start getting the gist of how a zone, or specifically how a province, is developing and what they see as an opportunity or not. And that's why it's really important for us to stay on top of constantly communicating, having that rapport built, having good communication between them, because you never know when an opportunity will come to you. And they'll say, hey, you know, now I'm interested in possibly merging. Or, hey, can we come and join the alliance? Having a good relationship where we are not being bullies or being aggressive will give us better odds to have some form of success when it comes to those negotiations or just in general our relationships with alliances. So really good to maintain what I feel is kind of a net positive, like a break-even or net positive status quo. Okay, then we look at Province 3. Province 3, we have CS here at the top. Now, from what I've been hearing, CS is, I guess, a portion or a chunk of them are migrating out, and then we have some of the leftover players that seem to be filling into US, right? Now, whether they go to US or if they go to IS, right, that would be ideal. It's probably more likely US just because of the province they're in. However, if we can get any of those into IS, that'd be fantastic as well. I know there was one player I think I just sent over there that Ghost got in. There's another person from another kingdom that reached out, and again, filling them in there if they do decide. And then, of course, posting, you know, anyone who's doing any recruitment. And this is a big thing we'll talk about in the next topic. But again, for the most part, yes. You want this? Yeah. Did you finish your animal?
Yeah.
Okay. What, you can't open this? I thought you opened it yesterday.
No.
No? Okay. Okay, after that we're going to have some fruit.
Mama, cheese.
Okay, okay, don't let him eat it. Okay, and after that we're going to have some fruit. Okay, sorry, brief intermission there. Okay, so we got CS. And again, we're still waiting. I think Bacchus and a few of the others there from US have been giving us some good updates on Province 3. So for those of you that are, excuse me, officers or leads, you know, you are privy to that, where you can check in on the diplomacy threads that we have for each province. and who's ever kind of leading the status updates for those provinces have been doing so. And I do want to say, as a good shout out, a lot of players, or I should say, pretty much all of the provinces, all of our province diplomacy threads have been updated accordingly, right? With someone or two people kind of heading up the summaries there for how they're going. Some more recent than others, just because again some provinces have more going on than others do. But everyone's been doing a great job of just posting updates and summaries of how things are currently going, and that's just a great way for all the officers, all the leads to be kept up to date. Right? So that way, again, even if you're not in a province, sometimes just having the information is good to know. Who knows who you may get messaged by. There was a situation yesterday where one of the leads got messaged by someone not even in their province, and they were able to redirect them appropriately based on updates and information that was posted on the server, on the Discord. So again, right, this is why having good communication, good information flow is really important. And again, a big shout out to the people there that have been doing those summaries, because it's been fantastic for me to read. And once I read, I'll usually check it off with the little green check mark so people know that I read it. And I think that's another great thing for us to do. Even if you're not in a situation, even as a lead or as someone who's just reading something, just to kind of show, hey, you read it, you recognized it. And sometimes just doing that is a good way to kind of give a nice nod, if you will, or a tip of the cap to someone who wrote, a summary or wrote something up, to show that, hey, awesome, thank you, I read it, appreciate. Okay. Then from there, I think the other update that they provided on PH is that, and if you think about it, it actually also helps me kind of give these summaries a little bit better too as well, right, when I'm able to kind of read what the update is. So it works hand in hand. But now the next update here is on PH, which, again, it seems that there was a lead change, and I think for the past 2 days they reported that they just hadn't been able to reach out to anyone, but have now recently been able to do so. So again, it seems like the relationship there is still kind of at its status quo and hasn't really changed, plus or minus. And then we have, if we go a little bit farther south, right, U.S., again, right, this was the alliance down here that I think ended up leaving, or had just, part of them had dissipated. So now U.S. has some more territory to work into on the south. And then again, you have kind of a nicer alliance here at 7RW. And this is something I actually like, utilizing and kind of recognizing your position on where you're going and kind of just taking advantage of the perimeter, right? This is a great way to have multiple alliances in a province where you kind of look at them taking the perimeter of the territory, and just kind of filling in where they can, right? It's a really good strategy, I think, for alliances that are trying to operate within, without kind of trying to snake their way through anything, unless the territory is kind of already fully maximized by the 1/3 for those alliances. But again, just wanted to point that out because I think that is a nice thing to see. But okay, then we'll move over to Province 4. Now, Province 4 is still a little interesting because at the moment there is 29 NH, which is supposed to be where GGI 7. So GGI 7 is slowing down a little bit here, right, where CS is probably going to make a break for this Sanctum and maybe the altar up top. And again, they'll probably have to give up this altar here to PH appropriately, just because GGI 7 is not migrating, but they're moving over to Province 4. Then I think MIN is either retaking GGI 7. Oh, I'm sorry, they're over here on the right. So I think, again, for now, it looks like there's something going on there where MIN is going to try and fill in appropriately. However, again, it really depends on what's happening with CS, right? If MIN can kind of maybe establish themselves as the top third, I think we still have to reach out to the lead to see what's going on there, if there's some relationship that can be established. But for all intents and purposes, many of the GGI 7 players and the lead have been heading over to 29 NH, and then I think some of them have migrated out as well. I think someone said that Psycho, who was, I believe, the GGI 7 rep there for the lead, migrated out, and just a few of their leadership team. But a lot of the players, from what the latest update is that they've been going to 29 NH. But you can even see here from Province 4, it's still pretty clustered. No one's really came out as kind of the breakout alliance. Now, you have had some territory that is starting to be removed from alliances or just flag line cutoff, so there is more space that's being created, even if you just look here at the middle. The left third, which is nice, right? This is kind of a little more ideal. It's not super clustered, and you have IS being Ghost Alliance that is really kind of branching out a little bit more, right? They have their Farm Alliance here, Shell being prepped in 7S down there. But again, if you look at the middle, VBA is probably the most likely participant, so to speak. Their center fortress, their CF is really nicely positioned in the middle third, and they're branching out a lot. You also have ARB, which is nice if you look at their territory that they have with 2 sanctums. But on the right third, it's still kind of anyone's game, depending on how it's going to play out. So we'll obviously provide updates accordingly for that. And then we get to Province 5. And you got PS here, right? Another alliance that just opened up a bunch of territory here on the right third for PS, being Fresh's alliance. And then you have 77 Squiggly, right? They're kind of, and just another good example of them working out the perimeter, but at the same time, right, at least allowing for one level 1 pass. So most likely what will happen here is that this one, and I'll talk about level 1 passes in a moment, once we just kind of get through here. And then we look at the middle third here for Province 5, and for intensive purposes, there's a lot going on here kind of at the top left and the middle. Right, middle right now isn't necessarily being contended by almost anyone. HOA 5 and then probably VN 7, look to be more the ideal candidates. HOA 6 kind of on the backside, top third. And then you have HOA, which again, in this situation, is kind of branching out more on like the 2 passes and not really kind of extending more to the middle on what they could. And again, I'm imagining some more alliances. You can see some flag cutoffs here, but not too much recently, right? Again, some of these smaller alliances may, over time, or I would say should, over time, dissipate a little bit more as we get farther in. So still a little bit to figure out there. Kind of how they're going to do some of the territory, and then once we get to the Zone 1s, or Zone 1 gates. And then lastly, we do Province 6. And Province 6, this is where, I think we spoke on this last, PS7 is, again, really solidified themselves here on the bottom third. And you can see that, at the moment they have, they got the 2 altars, we see 2 sanctums, 4 and 5, and then another altar here. And I think they might have this one. So again, I'm not sure exactly what's happening. I know they've taken a couple extras, and I think part of that is because we're still waiting to find out what's going on with 77CR. Again, there's not necessarily a clear middle. I mean, I like FRZ for Freeze because they have some good territory established, even SKX5, but I'll have to wait to see what the next update is coming out of Province 6. And again, we'll see who's kind of going to be shaping that out. And then at the top, you got DO77. And for, I think, all intents and purposes, they've been great so far. They've really been working with the kingdom. They have a good kind of top third established. And you can see some brief territory there and some over here kind of being separated. So again, it is consolidating a little bit more, but still a couple things to figure out in Province 6. So that kind of breaks down everything for the provinces. Okay. Okay, here, go get an orange, okay?
I don't want orange.
Go get an apple. Oh my gosh, you put Band-Aids on your fingers? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't kill all the Band-Aids, kid.
I got one, too.
Okay. All right.
I got gummy.
I know, I love it.
Okay.
Is that also? Oh, it's kitties. Okay. That's really good. You did a good job, sweetie. I hope the circulation doesn't get cut off, but outside of that, it was a great job.
I know.
Okay.
What's up?
Alrighty. Next thing is going to be just briefly talking about the Zone 1 gates. Yes. I'll let you know in a sec. Can you go get an apple or orange?
Orange.
There you go.
I can't.
Go ahead.
I can't read.
You got to get the stool. Go get the stool.
No.
It's in there. Go get the stool. It's in the bathroom. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, with the Zone 1 gates, right? If we're starting here with Province 1, we can look here and see how this is going. So, I think LOC is blocking this off. Does anyone know from C hashtag what the plans are right now for the Zone 1 gates with LOC? Is there an attempt to either go through, go around? Is there any update there?
We don't really care about the level 1 pass rewards.
Okay. So has someone spoke to LOC though about it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think Spidey's talked with them.
Okay. Okay. And then from Crazy's Alliance on PB, have you spoken to LOC? Has anyone there spoken to LOC on taking the top level one pass?
Yeah, we
Okay.
already talked to him.
So that's square.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Dope sauce. All right. Cool. So in that case, that seems pretty gooch. All right. Now let's go to zone two. So what's up with Queen here? Again, is there? I mean, I would assume here that Queen maybe wants to try and reach out to grab both.
Well,
What's the
that
plan there?
one line burning, so the one's almost completely burnt, and then we'll be working our way to the other pass. Other one.
What's this? Oh, you want to play with the Play-Doh? Okay, yeah, yeah. Here, take it. Oh, you want a ball?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you want a ball?
Mommy,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm just making her a ball.
So we're about it's got like about 1,200
Cool.
HP left on their center fortress. If it goes down, they can't take the rewards. So we'll be building that direction once that goes down, and then we'll take the other pass.
Okay. Oh, so
We're
this
going
is
to share
close.
it
This
with
is like 900. Yeah.
but since they're leaving, it's going to be ours.
Okay. Okay, got it. Okay, so at the moment, then the plan right now for Face is to try and take both.
But 7 PH is going to take
Yes,
going to
the plan.
the other one. 7 PH, the top.
Was well PH isn't. Oh, I'm sorry. This. Oh. I see. Oh wow. They dropped a second. Oh wow. They dropped a second forward just to get that.
Yeah, because they missed out on any passes on level 1 passes, so they wanted to have that one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. But that's been discussed.
For first occupation only.
Got it. But that's been discussed though with them.
They just do it. Yeah, I know about it, but it's not for me to to decide. It's what their plan is.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't know about it.
Okay.
I mean, the rewards are trash anyways, so it's not like it really matters, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fine for them too. I mean, again, as long as we're splitting, so at minimum, the family alliances can at least get one outside of the other up and coming, the emerging ones. And I think Zoke is here from PH. So Zoke, I didn't even ask. But sorry, is that the plan for you guys to take the right for first occupation?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Alrighty. So no, that's good. What's so if you can for me while you're here, just so because again I know I was kind of going over some of the provinces, and I guess this is one of the benefits to having a lot of people from multiple alliances in the town hall meetings. With PH, I think there was a recent leadership change from what someone was telling me with. Or if it's not, I see bad is there, but I thought someone told me that it may have changed. Has that happened or no?
Here clear. So lag.
Sorry?
I think he said lag.
Oh, I'm lagging. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, oh, what? Well, not you, him.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it sorry? Has there been a leadership change, or are things pretty stable?
Hold on, I'll just type in KD chat.
Yeah, that might be easier.
He said, change or is it stable?
Yeah. And so if it's easier to type in Kingdom Chat, that's please feel free.
What's his name? Oh, Zoke. There we go, double PM.
Double ping. There we go. That's definitely a way to not annoy somebody.
Yeah, you're not lagging, you're 100% fine.
Well, I mean, it could. Yeah, I'm sure it could be a connection on either end. But okay. But yeah, Zoke, if it's easier to type, that's no problem. Please feel free. But yeah, I guess when you're able to, Zoe, does bad? I can't remember if bad does or not, but does the lead or another officer that kind of speaks for diplomacy, if they have Discord, or if they're able to communicate, or even if it's just easier in game, that'd be great to know. Just so that way, if we need to use a translator, please feel free.
I had a conversation with a leader today, and I put
Okay.
the chat, I think, on the Zone 3 diplomacy. That you read it,
Yeah.
I think. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Via, I don't know.
Okay.
It's the leader. So we are fully aligned on
EA.
what the plan is.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
It's EA.
no one has mentioned anything, as far as I know, to Queen. Because last time I've heard, she said to take down the CF and build right to that gate. So, I mean, no one's. I mean, we had a outstanding uh with GG 17. So I don't, or I7. I don't. And but no. Thank you, baby. I don't want it.
Okay.
Uh, but no one's reached out to said anything about sharing. So first
Did
reach out to Queen and talk to her.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think for all intents and purposes, that's fine as far as I think for PH to take one and then Face can take the other. I mean, given that CS has migrated out, it doesn't really make a lot of sense if we're looking at it logistically for them to, or even rationally for them to be able to take past rewards. Given that
There's no
PH would
point
be
in them having it.
yeah, given that PH is the next closest, right? I don't know if I would have dropped a second forward for it, but obviously that's neither here nor there. That was their decision. But like I said, I think that's fine. I don't really think that affects anything for the most part. Okay, so let me do this. Let's go south now, and looks like we got 3 level 1 passes here. It looks like US is going to grab 2 of these, and then okay, I don't know if they're going to go all the way down south. Okay, so it looks like the bottom, the last level 1, doesn't really look like there's anyone, with the exception of VNAT, is probably going to be the closest. VNAO. Huh. Why do I feel like this is the second forward here from VNAO? Have I seen them before, and I'm just totally cray-cray?
Oh no.
Yeah, you've seen them in Zone 2, in Province 2. Yes, they
Yeah,
moved
okay.
out.
Whew. I was like, okay, thanks, Craig. I was like, man, my memory isn't that bad. Interesting. Okay,
But I
so
think for the top 2 level 1 passes down there. Now go down at the top 2 level 1 passes there.
yeah,
That's connected to the US territory.
okay,
I think the top 1 is also be contended by TGI 7. Talk to them, and they also want to take that. So I think that will be a competition.
okay.
Competition. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
really I'm not really sure about giving
leadership
them
side.
the pass, more so just because I know they recently moved. It would have been probably better for them just to hang out in Province 4 and maybe be able to take one, because they were in position already to take one of the passes, and then when they removed their territory, that was when I guess that was when PH then made the fort there, and I think the idea was for them to move and fill into NH. So if they don't have, let me see what their capacity is. Ooh. Salute. 73. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's difficult with the leadership change there at Psycho, and yeah, we were lining up for those passes since a week already. So
Yeah. Yeah,
we wanted
I
to
think
give
it'd be a
them
little
up.
better just to have US take those, have a conversation with them. Maybe if they have a couple active players, if you guys might have a couple free spots, that could be something.
Yeah, they're ready to fight for it. That's what they said. But
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, yeah. I mean, the thing is, and just so everyone can keep this in mind, right? Good practice on first occupation awards is that you have 100% activity, if not working as close to 100% activity, to make sure that people that are in your alliance, like a good example here is, I'm hanging out right now in C hashtag, but I'm gonna leave C hashtag. Why? Because my account doesn't need first occupation awards. I could care less about that. I would rather have someone who's playing a main that's in 77, who's going to be able to utilize that. So a good practice is if you have farms in your alliances, you should remove them, right? Give it to a main player, and especially now where you have some time before the Zone 1 pass is open, right? If you have low accounts, be sure to remove those low accounts, or I should say if they're inactive, right? So any inactives remove. If you have farms or alts in the alliance, even if you're just removing them temporarily, right? There's a lot more long-term benefit that we can get as a kingdom as a whole from allowing as many main or active players on their mains to get those first occupation rewards. So just try to keep that in mind right before the passes come about.
Oh yeah. Especially for the low-ranking alliances. It'll
We
help all
have
the people that are getting filtered down there as well.
Yeah.
I have personally reached out, boss at GG17, and haven't got I got a response from the temporary lead, but not from the lead that is now
Okay.
lead, and they have because Queen wanted to know if they would give ownership over to her. So, but they wouldn't. I haven't responded.
Okay.
So.
Okay, yeah. And any of that stuff, just post that, whether it's you or Queen or whomever, is doing the Diplo there for Province 2, you guys can just post those updates. Again, even if it's you reaching out to someone else, or better yet, posting that update in that province channel, right? So if they're in 4, post that in 4 and just say, hey, reached out, just an update, in that way, then someone can let you know, okay, cool, I'll take over, or hey, thanks for the update. That kind of stuff is great because, again, it just allows for the communication to flow very smoothly where everyone is kind of up to date. So, no, it sounds good. In that case, then, with US, yeah, again, you guys taking the top 2, I think that's fine given the current landscape. So, might be easier to try and contest whichever one you think might get contested first. And obviously, if you've already taken the time to go out and message them and just let them know, hey, we're going to take these passes, just kind of given the current climate, along with them not having 100% capacity at the moment to really utilize as many players being able to get those first occupation rewards. That would be some reasoning that could be provided. As far as the bottom level 1 pass, again, unless someone's going to go hard here, which maybe could be V now, depending. I don't even know if this is done being built yet. It's not. It's 34 days. So yeah, that's probably not going to happen. Most likely, unless they end up doing some max filling, and maybe it'll probably be VNAT that takes it, or another. Okay, so now let's go. I think we got 2 more, 2 more here left, or 3. So, IS is in position right now. I imagine that IS is probably going to go for this top one, and PS is going to go for the bottom one. Is that the plan? If anyone here from IS or PS?
I know we're going for the top one.
Rizzo, you've done it. You did it. Thank you. I love you so much. Okay. Awesome. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that it just looks ideal. Again, PS isn't there. I think IS and PS doing a split, super easy. So, I mean, I again do recommend communicating that, whether it's to Fresh or someone else would be good.
They already PM the PS to join.
Sorry, Blank?
I already PM the PS to join Discord. Probably they're not here. Or I mean, they're busy on doing barb forts right now.
Okay, yeah. Oh, no worries, no worries. Yeah, I think Trip Attack is here. Hershey, also just a quick reminder for Hershey, Blank, and Sulker, if you guys are able to edit or update your nicknames whenever you have a chance, that would be great, just to include the Alliance tag in front, and then if you need someone to give you a specific Alliance tag, that would be great as well, and then one of us can do that for you. Let me see. Yeah, like see, even Brick, I have to give you the tag to Team Face. Auntie has it. Pizza, you have it. Oh, I gotta give it Destroyer. See, look at this. I'm doing management stuff during the meeting. Crazy's good. 8-bit Retro's good. Ooh, Kuma, I gotta give you the tag. There we go. There's also good Shadow. Shadow's good. Terry. You're good. Burger, you're good. R4's good. And okay, awesome. Everyone's caught up. Sweetness. Okay. Alright, let's take a look at the province 5 to 6. And it looks like HOA is positioned for 1. So this looks like it's going to be a standard split to me. This looks pretty straightforward. So it looks like HOA is going to take 1 of the level 1 passes, and then PS7 is going to take this one. Has anyone here confirmed that, if that's the case? I don't know if there's any uppercase PS people here. So, but I will, if not, I'll ask. I can always ask Draco. And I'm forgetting who is there someone new there? Oh no, it's still Loser. Okay. Oh, and Hammer's there too. Okay, yeah. I can always ask Hammer. Because I think he's in the Discord. And Draco to see. I mean, it seems like that's what the plan's going to be. So this seems pretty straightforward for a 1-1. And then the last Zone 1 gates is up top. So there's 3 here. DO77 actually looks like they're connected to all of them. However, I imagine LS is going to go for 1. I don't know if there's any LS or DO77 in here, though, that could confirm. If not, I will ask. But it looks like LS will probably go for 1. DO77 will probably go for these 2. It doesn't seem like there's really anyone. Unless SL extends, there's still time where I guess they could get there. But worst case, again, I don't think it's going to be super impactful, but that could be something we at least reach out just to find out about what the plan is there. Okay. Awesome. So that kind of covers Zone 1 gates, and I think then our summary. So I think we're good there. This is all fresh. Okay. Hey, no. Yes. Oh, hey, it's all better. Good job. Let me see. Oh, that one's still healing. It needs a few more minutes to cook. Yeah, need some help. Like you never not on my mind. No? We're supposed to do our dance.
No.
What?
Can I jump?
You want to jump? Oh, you can jump it a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you come?
Okay, hang on, I'll come. Daddy has to finish this meeting with other human beings.
I'll come.
They're human beings. Okay.
Yeah, I'll come a little bit. Here, why don't you go finish the movie? Did you get your fruit? I'll get you some strawberries. Okay, you want to sit?
No.
You want to sit?
No.
You don't want to sit?
Daddy.
No, Max, not you. That's too full. Okay.
Daddy.
Yeah.
Here we go, me.
Oh, okay, hey, we're gonna be here. We gotta be quiet, okay? All right, thank you, sweetie. Okay. Let me see what I got next. What do we got? State of affairs. We did province assessments and Zone 1 gates. Okay, cool. So I guess the last state of affair thing is that there's not really a lot that's going on, which is really nice in the long run because there's, again, if you think about it, no rogues. Really haven't had any rogue players with the exception of the
3 mil.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's still here. Let me see here.
I doubt it.
Yeah. No one really. Let me just go down the list real quick. Yeah, so the next big guy is Tic Tac from DO77. Thankfully, again, good relationship. Even if you just look at the individual boards, we pretty much round out everything, at least the majority of the top spots, which is nice, right? And I think that's important just because, again, it shows that, one, not only do we have a kind of a nice unified force, but, if anyone does go rogue and they're attacking our alliances or any alliances, right, we can address that. And I also want to give a shout out to Zark, who's been doing a great job of getting our rapid response team set up. So I know he's messaged the top 100 players and has been filling that out, tagging people appropriately. So I think there's maybe about 15 or 20 people that he's added so far into our rapid response department and has tagged them appropriately. So that's been great. So just in the event if something needs to get addressed, if we need to call on people to go and do something kind of as a quick team, then, that's being rounded out. So definitely shouts for him for helping me out there and kind of taking over after I did the initial messaging. So I know he's done a second round of that, and I know he's been staying on top of it as well. With that, again, that's it. Again, there's no rogue alliances, no players. We're really in a fantastic, ideal state, which I can tell you from, running 4 projects before this, is a really nice place to be in,
Daddy,
where you're not having to worry too much.
JJ.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
go watch it. Go watch it. Go watch it on the TV.
I can't watch JJ.
Okay, I'll put it on a little bit for you then. Okay. But anyway, so with that, I'm really happy to see how things have been progressing and developing overall, where the kingdom at this point is really in a great position to focus 100% on development, which I think is the most important thing. The fact that players don't have to worry about getting attacked, they don't have to worry about losing resources, they don't have to worry about getting burned. They can literally just focus 100% of their efforts on maximizing their accounts. I think that's the most important thing that we can really give as many players the opportunity to do. And I do, at least, again, I hope people appreciate that and feel really good about, where we're at right now as a kingdom, because I think that we have a lot to look forward to. Okay. With that, let me kind of get to recruitment now. And I just want to briefly talk about some of the departments, and then we'll open the floor up. So, in short, right, the most important thing we really can be doing as a kingdom is making sure that on fronts such as diplomacy, on recruitment, right, these parts where it's really playing a big role and factoring.
JJ.
Yeah, here, go finish that, and then I'll put JJ. Okay.
I can't.
What do you mean?
I can't.
Oh, you want me to go put it on now?
Yeah.
Okay, come on, let's go. We'll go put it on. Okay. Yeah? All right. One sec. Come on, let's go. Yep, come on. Let's go. Yep. Okay, we gotta sit down. And hey, look at me.
Super silent.
Do not open that. If you open that, you're gonna sit down. All right. Okay. I'm back.
Welcome back.
So yeah. Yeah? Look at what? Oh, I see. Well, do your dance. It's not working. Oh boy. Ugh. What do you mean it's not working? Oh, it's loading. It's okay. Don't sit there. Down. It's not working. You gotta wait for it to load. It's loading. No. See? You're welcome. Okay. Alrighty. Apologies. Appreciate everyone who's understanding of the life of kids. Okay. So with that, just kind of briefly talking about the departments and some of the processes. I know I was mentioning diplomacy and recruiting. So the big things here is that we want to be very cognizant and aware of, and we talked about this a few times so far, not only during the jump phase, but during some of the early days for the kingdom, for some of the announcements that we put out. We have also talked about this, I think, in one of the newsletters that I've typed up and the alliances have sent out, which is that we just want to be very aware of having dedicated points of contact. So let me just briefly talk about just two big examples. Let me start with diplomacy, then I'll briefly touch on recruiting. So with diplomacy, which I think we've been doing a fantastic job of now. In the beginning, the kind of 2 points of contact for the most part was myself and Ghost. The main reason we did it that way was because when you have fewer cooks in the kitchen, fewer points of contact, it allows for the information for what's being discussed, for what's being offered, for what you're hearing and what others are telling these people, less margin of error. Whereas if we had 10 people that were having diplomacy discussions with everyone in the kingdom, now, 2 people could say this, one person says this, another says that, this person over here says something completely different. And it just doesn't allow for a standard or a consistent level of professionalism and just good common denominators to be on the same page. So we initially started it out that way to kind of handle the bulk of the diplomacy conversations, and then we basically spread it out to each of the provinces. Once we were able to kind of get the main things out of the way, then we were able to kind of hand those over to the province leads, which is essentially what is happening now, right? So there was a transition period. And thankfully, everyone has been doing a fantastic job. The leads, the officer teams, the people involved in diplomacy have really been on the ball. And that's why I was saying earlier, it's been really a pleasure to kind of read those diplomacy updates from each of the provinces, whether it's the lead, it's an officer, it's the diplomacy rep, right? You can tell that there's multiple people that are working on it, and or are at least up to date on what's happening to where they could at least speak on it or speak on the behalf. So again, great job there. Now, when it comes to recruiting, right, and this is also certain things, like when it comes to doing things like mergers, right, and and this is still kind of related to diplomacy, but when it comes to things like mergers, it's really important that there is a higher level of communication, because doing mergers is really important, and these are going to start coming up a little bit more once we get into Zone 2, possibly closer, if not after, once we get into Zone 2 and you have some territory that's already established. Mergers are a great way internally the kingdom to where we can work additionally on power balancing, right? So the important piece here is that when it comes consistently to what the current process is for recruiting internally, is that all of the alliances really should be still accepting only players that are 500k and below, with the exception of whoever the current number 7 alliance is. And if that hasn't changed, then I think it possibly should still be Ghost Alliance. I just don't know where they're ranked right now. So he's 11. And this is nice, right? And I want to point this out. This is a fantastic testament to just showing you how well power balancing can work if it is consistently done. And you have all the officers, all the leads, and the players even, right, when they're asked, can speak to the effect. If you look at where IS was when we were on day 2 or day 3, they were, I think, around number 23, number 25. I think as of yesterday, they were number 13. So you can see that just through, and trust me when I say this, and this is not to be a slight towards anyone, we know for a fact that some of the top alliances are still accepting top players. It is unfortunate. Again, I don't fault anyone for that. But what I do ask is that alliances within the family do their best to try and follow through on these processes. Because if you just take, for example, all of the top alliances, or let's just say all of the alliances above where US and IS is, and you look at, and this is obviously without exceptions for people that I've spoken to personally, but if you just take, like for example, if you take like the top 2 alliances right now, like Classy and Perfect, right? And again, as I said, this isn't a slight at anyone, but the fact is that they have accepted some people over the cap, amongst, I'm sure, some of the other alliances have in small trickles. But for the most part, right, it's been a little bit more than a handful for these. Now, let's just say all of the players that joined Classy and Perfect, right, like the new ones that they had accepted, went to IS and US. Well, now you're looking at probably having their power a little bit closer to where FACE is, right? So it's a little more balanced, a little more in line. And at the same time, you're now boosting IS and US up to most likely get closer to where Fresh's alliance is, right? As far as when you're looking at it there. So just when you're looking at it from this perspective, right? Trust me, I have my own realistic expectations that there are going to be, there's going to be, I don't want to say levels of breakdown, but there's going to be things that slip through the cracks, right? And really the hope is that we can minimize as much of that as possible. People really have to buy into this. Like, you really have to understand, and more so believe in why we're doing power balancing, right? And for those that might not be familiar, to give a brief kind of mini masterclass course here, the reason why we do these things is because when you have alliance power that is close to each other, right, when you're closing the gap, players will feel more encouraged to engage more. They'll be more motivated. They'll participate more. They will invest more of their resources into events, because they will feel that if their alliance is close in power to all the other alliances, then that shows to them, just from a visual perspective, that, well, if my alliance can compete with any other alliance because we're close in power, then I have no problem investing my resources. I'm not just going to do the bare minimum tasks, right, to get the rewards from. And it also shows that we're able to have more consistent, friendly competition amongst all of the alliances, right, once they're closer in power to one another. And those types of things bleed over into areas like KVK, where now players and more players will start feeling, well, wow, we have all these even strong alliances, we have great competition between each other. That can motivate players to get your conversion percentages up more when it comes to the people that are actually going to come over and fight. And on top of all of that, it allows for good health, to be good morale, to be built and elevated in the kingdom because you're doing something like that. Another one of the things that it helps out as well is that it also eliminates the whole ladder climbing effect, right? Where players want to go to the top alliances, right? They want, and it doesn't mean that everyone will. But more often than not, you'll get players that just want to climb the ladder, right? They just want to keep going up and up and up, and that is where you eliminate that. When you have alliances that are all even, you'll never have someone who's a spender that comes in and says, "Oh, well, I just want to join the top alliances." Well, hey, all 7 of our alliances are within 2 mil power of each other, right? We've evenly distributed rally leads between the alliances, right? But you can fill in here. And I can tell you, I've never not had someone that I've recruited that did not understand that, and even more so love the fact that we were doing that, because they felt that it was a stronger kingdom because we had a lot more adaptability and versatility between the alliances. So again, to really kind of hammer that point home, this is why it's really important that as leads, as officers, everyone is on the same page, and that information is being explained to those people. So if you are a top alliance, or if you're an alliance that's not US or IS in this case, right, because they're 6 and 7, and again, they're getting, Ghost is catching up and getting closer, right, to the point of where once he does, in IS, then we're basically just rotating. It's IS, US, until they catch up to where Fresh is, right here in low P, high S, which I hate to say it like that. I would rather just say a full alliance tag, but that's neither here nor there. That's my small thing. But that's the hope, right? Is that once 7 and 6 catch up to 5, right, which in this case is Perfect Society, then now you're pushing those 3 together in tandem to catch up to Crazy, right, in Perfect Breed, and then same thing, right? And it's a very easy process to follow, but everyone has to be on the same page, and it is a group effort. Right, it's not one person who's going to solve that. It's not 2 or 3 people who are going to solve it. It has to be every officer, and again, even taking time to remind people, right? If you're a lead and you notice that people are being accepted, which we know for a fact they are in the top alliances, again, right, take that accountability, take that responsibility, and take time to go and inform, right? Friendly remind your officer team and say, hey guys, look, this is how we're going about it. This is what the process is, right? And if we have these people that apply, then, right, kindly message them, inform them, educate them on why we do those things. And I'm even doing things like drafting up template messages. That's something I have on my list to do today. So if you're someone who needs that, and maybe you don't feel comfortable or maybe know how you can position or word that to someone who's applying to you on why they would need to go to a lower ranked alliance, right, reach out. You can always reach out to me. You can reach out to another lead or another officer if you think they have, a good way of approaching it, at least until I can get some template messages set up, to where whenever those situations come across, right, those most frequent type situations, then you'll have a nice little template doc that you can go and pull copy-pasted messages from, that you can send in DMs, you could send in a mail, and that's a nice, easy way to do that. We've been doing that for the recruitment team, right, where Crazy had asked me, hey, it'd be awesome if we could have some responses that we could use for, while we're out there recruiting in other kingdoms. If players ask us certain questions, we already kind of have some tailor-made responses that we can easily post back. And so again, I'll do the same thing as well. Hopefully I'll have some time here in a bit to just write that out. But that is really important, because the longer it takes to kind of close the gap, right? And don't get me wrong, we've been doing, I think, a great job of doing so. But we just don't want it to eventually kind of spiral or avalanche, if you will, where it keeps building. We want to be proactive in that We're all here together, right? And many of you have heard me say, I could care less who's number one. It doesn't matter to me, right? That's the farthest thing from what we care about as a kingdom. What we really do care about and should be caring about is constantly putting all of our efforts and working towards power balancing. Whoever's number one, number two, number three, that's completely irrelevant. Why? Because really what it comes down to is having the most amount of activity, the highest level of player retention, and getting the most amount of fighters converted over to KVK, right? Regardless of what alliance they're in, or who's the leading shell. We want to be versatile. We want to be flexible in that regard, and that's going to be a big selling pitch as well when we go into KVK. Is that the benefit of having a lot of active alliances is that we have a lot of alliances that have higher level tech as well that can be utilized going into KVK1 and even future KVKs, right? We don't want to just have 3 or 4 active alliances, right? There's a lot of ways you can use alliances, use shells, you can use a higher active player base in a multitude of ways that just gives us a lot of options. And that's what we're really trying to strive for when it comes to why we do power balancing, how it's going to affect us in the long term, and then how we can utilize that and really take advantage of that in KVK. Okay, now let me just briefly get to the recruiting portion, right? So the recruiting portion is very similar to diplomacy. The important bit here is that when we have a department, we really want everyone who's doing recruitment to either be in that department, or if you are recruiting someone, whether it's you have some connections for an alliance, or you have an account in another one of the kingdoms on the continent, if you have some friends that are interested in coming over, right? The best thing is just to be sure that you're updating someone who's in the recruiting department, or even myself, and just letting us know, hey, to give an update on, hey, these people are coming in, or hey, I got some people that are interested in coming, where would you like them to go? The important bit here, and this is something I've told others as well, is that even if you have friends that are coming in or you have friends that are interested, the most important thing is that we're focusing on filling those players and or groups bottom up, to where once those alliances, and here's an example, let's say you are in Face. Let's say you have a couple friends that are interested in migrating to the kingdom, or you have some friends that landed in another kingdom on the same continent, and they're interested in coming over to 77. The best way to position that is that we would want those players to go to IS, right, ideally. And then once IS and the other alliances get close in power to Face, then those players are more than welcome to go back to Face, right? But the reason why it's important to do it that way is that once you catch up and you're on an even playing field for the power, then if you take a few players away, the power doesn't drop that much, and you're still close in having a gap to where any future recruits that you bring in will have an easier time filling into those alliances, rather than if those players immediately just go to any alliance that is only furthering the gap instead of closing it. It's an easier time when people can visually look at the boards and say, oh, well, these 4 or 5 alliances are all close in power. Sure, it doesn't matter. Put me in whichever one you want. Instead of the possible response we could get, which is, no, I just only want to go to the top alliance. So these are things that we have to think about that probably the average player may not think about on how these scenarios play out if you don't do a lot of recruiting, or if you don't have a lot of conversations with people and you hear these types of responses on a consistent basis. So anyways, just something important to point out there is that just having good communication, reaching out and updating people, if you are interested in doing recruitment, if you're interested in putting an account out there. Like I said, myself, Crazy, at the moment, Lexi, right, we're in the recruiting department doing that as far as for the 3 people that have currently signed up. But if you are interested in helping out and doing recruitment, you want to make an extra account in one of the other kingdoms on the continent, if you just have people that that might be there even if you don't have an account, we definitely encourage you or any of those individuals to reach out, right, and we can tag you for the recruiting department, even if it's just something where you want to provide updates, right? Now, all the officers and all the leaders have access to all the departments. So that's something that even if you're an officer or a lead, right, we of course would ask those people as well to be posting updates on when leads come in. Because the important thing is that we are placing people appropriately to also work on closing that gap from externally outside of the kingdom as much as we're focusing on it internally within the kingdom. Okay.
So I have one thing, boss, real
Yeah.
quick. So I'm not going to mention the player's name because they want to be anonymous. But we had a player that was originally supposed to be in our alliance that got help. They missed a jump. Right when they finally jumped over here, they went straight, like you said, over to Ghost Alliance. But within being over there for the days that were over there, they've told us that Ghost, they're not as active like as in the times maybe they're on is like you said, they're not doing, they're not as active, nowhere near as active as our alliance is, like compared to Ghost Alliance. Like I don't know if that's because maybe time zone difference, because like she said, they're not doing forts, they don't do, this, they don't, like. So I mean, I don't know. I'm over at Ghost Alliance, so I don't know how active they are. But he says they're not really active. They don't. So I mean, maybe that's the reason why people are leaving is if they go over there, maybe they're not as active during the times that they're on. Because I know Ghost, he lives in Belgium, or compared to the United States, it's a different time zone.
Gotcha. Well, so I think a few things there. One, I think it's important that at times we don't necessarily take 100% of what someone's telling us at face value, right? If it's a member saying that, especially if they have reasons personally to want to play somewhere else, right? It's almost like at that point they could argue, like we could make an argument that says they could tell you anything they want to tell you, right, just to leave. That is completely within reason. I think for the situation you're bringing up, and that's totally plausible that that could be happening. However, I think if we look at a few external factors on what that person said to you, if they really had activity problems, people wouldn't be staying, right? They'd be leaving in flocks. That's one argument. That's not happening. Number two, again, I can't really speak to the effect of the fort situation, and obviously whether they're doing it or they're not, whether there's not a lot of people online when that person is. In those cases, what I would say is during my time there, when I spent some time in Ghost Alliance before heading over to Spidey's to hang out for a bit, I got helps in plenty of time, and they had markers up for when they did forts and I believe for when they did Guardians. So again, unless that has changed and they've backtracked and regressed in their level of organization, which I just don't see happening, then again, that's why I say, try and take those things with a grain of salt. A lot of times they may reach out to you or they might reach out to someone else. Maybe they'll reach out to you. Maybe they'll reach out to another R5 or officer there. Maybe they'll try reaching out to another officer. Who's to say they haven't contacted multiple officers just to try and basically appease or not appease, but appeal to your sensitiveness, right? Or to your emotions. I've seen that happen plenty of times. The important bit is that we're staying true and consistent with what we're saying. And that we're explaining to them that it's not like they have to stay there forever, right? We're just asking for them to stay there long enough. Because think about it like this on probably the bigger end, is that how are they going to become more active if an active player leaves rather than more active people joining, right? If you want to become more active, you need more active people to join. That just only makes sense. And the more active people that join, now you're increasing the range of online time for the people that are joining to then make the alliance more active in a multitude of areas. So if you're thinking about it, for me, logically, someone leaving, even though they know they can, even though they've been told that they can eventually join, and this is just me going off of my baseline assumption because everyone that I have spoken to, I've told this to, which is that it's not a permanent thing. If you really want to go play somewhere else, that's no problem. We just would kindly ask you to wait until the power balance gets closer. So to me, like I said, some of the points you brought up, I just kind of take with a grain of salt, right? If I had an opportunity to talk to that person and really thoroughly or explain more so, or sometimes just having someone else do it, right? I can take time to explain to someone, but it may not have as much impact as if you do, or another officer, or another leader reiterates the same thing. Because the moment that you or another officer or lead starts saying something different, now we have a complete breakdown in system. We have a complete breakdown in process because we're not being consistent now. Right now, what we're telling someone is that, oh, well, all they have to do is go and ask someone else and they can get a yes. who's to say that person doesn't know someone else in the kingdom and now has told them that? Oh, well, all you have to do is just go do this, right? Their resolve is weak. So there's quite a few more cons than pros in the situation, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally understand. We try to adopt some policies over from crazy. We do. I know when times that I'm on, they have like 4 rallies, like 5 rallies. They're always doing barb for it nonstop. They're doing rallies with everything, like. So I understand where someone people are getting. They know people. They hear about how active we are compared to certain alliances only doing them certain programs a day. So people get they hear the word, they like, oh crap, they get all these rewards from these. So I totally understand. I was just letting just throwing it out there.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the important bit is that whether it's yourself, whether it's another officer or lead, if you just do not, and I understand, not everyone is going to be comfortable in speaking in what we might just defaultly label in a stern way, right? In a consistent way that isn't that is kind of delivering negative news, so to speak, right, or non-favorable news. Because in the scenario you just brought up, that's basically what you would have been doing, right? Where you would have told them, right, in the ideal situation, that look, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and it also shows that you've bought into it, right? The unfortunate part is that another area it unfortunately highlights is that not everyone's on the same page. And I'm not going to sit here and slight anyone for that, but that is what it also shows to those people, right? If we're supposed to be unified, if we're supposed to be doing things the same way, why is it that someone can reach out to another person in management and then they'll say yes to them or they'll accept them? That actually could end up being a bigger issue later down the road, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, got you.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of implications. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen these things play out, and this is why it's just really important that we try and be very consistent with what we're doing, with what we're saying across the board.
What's the power minimum?
Sorry, Trent?
Power minimum. What's the power minimum?
Minimum for
the alliance that we're sending to IS and US.
So it's more of a maximum, right? So I know you said you're new for the officers.
I asked because I've been told that US is only taking 1 million and up. So I'm just curious if we're all going to be on the same page. This is one of the things we need to be on the same page with.
Yeah, no, agreed. So we have put those announcements out. We've put these announcements out, I believe, in one of the newsletters, and we've done this for management announce, and I've also done this in a couple of the Kingdom announcements on Discord as well. I know we're further going to be classifying that, or I should say reiterating that as friendly reminders when it comes to the newsletters. But all of this information has already been communicated, even before we jump day one. And it's been reiterated a couple times so far. So all the leaders and all the officers know that what the current plan is, and I know I mentioned this in the beginning of the meeting, is that we have at the current set is we have a 500K maximum, right? That means that if you are ranked 1 through 6, you can accept people that are 500K or below. And whoever the current number 7 is can accept any power level, right? With the understanding and the expectation that over time, number 7 will catch up to number 6, and then number 6 and 7 rotate back and forth for placements, and they'll eventually catch up to number 5, and then so on and so forth. And if you look at the rankings right now, it has been working. It hasn't been working as well.
I understand what you're saying, but it's not happening.
but it is happening, and that's what I'm trying to explain. Is that it has been happening if you look at where IS is.
That I'm being told that US has an acceptance level of 1 million, so it's not happening. This is a town hall. I'm putting that out there. I believe in your system 100%. I need the rest of the people to be there too. That's all.
No, true. And I think the more appropriate way to put it is that it's not happening fully. Because to say it's not happening would indicate that it's not
Yes.
happening at all. I
Yes.
think the more appropriate way
Yes.
is that it's just not happening at 100%. The efficiency
Yes,
level might be
absolutely.
somewhere maybe 60 to 80%, maybe 60% is probably a little better if we're factoring in that we have, as I mentioned before, right? Like it's very clear that people have pointed out that pretty much all the alliances 1 through 6 have been accepting some players, with the alliances at the top accepting a few more players that are above that 500k max. It is unfortunate. It is something that obviously I can't control, but I do hope that people are here for the right reasons, right? I hope people buy into why we're doing it this way. Why do we have processes set up this way to get to where we want to get? One of the biggest challenges is that really it's about kind of recoding and reprogramming people's DNA when they play RoK. Because if you look at the majority of people here, I don't think there's anyone here that has probably ever attempted to do what I'm attempting to do and what I'd like for the kingdom to try and do when it comes to how we're approaching doing balancing from day one and the processes and limitations that we've kind of put in, I should say safeguards is probably a better way of putting it, in this way.
All I'm saying is that I think that your processes need to be tight. That's all. I believe in it. I was with you in IK. I'm 100% with you. That's all.
And may I please explain it from US side, because I think you're referring to the request this morning that 3 or 4 players are coming our way.
It doesn't matter what you posted it in officer chat, and it was posted and it was stated. And if that's the way that we're going to do things, then that's the way we should do things. But if we're going to be doing it the way that BN is asking, then that's the way we should do it as BN is asking. That's all.
Then we should.
That's all I'm saying.
Then we should pick our players for those that are joining with the same power level. So that doesn't make sense. It doesn't help US.
I'm not number one. I never said that you have to take them. I told a group of people that they were being sent out to those 2 alliances and a third one that's in our area that's not one of the 7 families. So I was taken aback. And if that's the way we're doing things, then y'all need to be upfront and say it.
I mean,
why would we replace
people?
same power?
They don't go. They don't want to join IS. I seen you messages. They don't. I send you there, but if they don't go over there and say and click add or
that's not what I'm talking about. I sent people over and I sent them a message and sent them over there. And then I posted, I said, hey, look out for these people, they're coming through. And then I was told, oh, we only take 1 million and we only accept 1 million. And that was posted in officer chat. Now if we're all on the same page, then somebody else should have said, hey, that's not what we're doing. We're not accepting just 1 million people. So again, I'm just looking for consistency.
Yeah, I think well, what I will say, and this is Trevor, I know you changed your name, but it was Wall before, right? Or what? Sorry, what was your name in IK?
Oh, me? I was Amakua.
Oh, Amakua. Okay. First off, I don't know if we've talked a lot. I will say I do love the brazen candor that you are exuding right now in your tone. I feel. Has anyone here seen the God? What is it? It's the angry. It's like the angry translator that
Yes.
Barack Obama did with who is it?
What?
Michael Peel, is that his name? Or was it Keegan Michael Keen? Is that his name? And it's like it's a skit they did I think it was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where if any of you guys have seen the skit on Comedy Central with Key and Peele, right? You had, I think it was Keegan Michael Keen was standing behind President Barack Obama, and Obama was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He was doing his speech, and as he got done saying a sentence, then Keegan Michael Peel would come in and basically like give the unfiltered version of what he was saying without him saying it, where he was like calling people out. Not to say that what I think Trip is doing is in that regard, but I will say it is somewhat close, and it is somewhat funny, and it immediately made me think of that skit. What I will say is that, is it unfortunate that those things are happening? Yeah, of course they are. would I ever get mad, or would I, point fingers or slight or shame anyone? I mean, that's just not me. But what I will say, and I think what I'll always try and do, is to stress the importance of why we need to do these things, and why, and what I will say in regards to what Minotaur and I know a few others have mentioned is that, okay, sorry, just making sure the kid's not choking. So
Oh, no.
and so I think the important part here, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying before, is that it's really important to have a good understanding and a comfortable feeling on how we speak to people. As I said before, one of the biggest impacts, and Crazy can tell you this, right? Rizzo can tell you this. People that have been with me for a while, they can tell you, dude, I could sell rubbers to a monk. And for anyone here who's seen Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, my boy Lil Bow Wow, fantastic line. And excuse me if I went a little PG-13 with that, but just to kind of hammer that point home, is that I feel very confident in my ability to speak to someone and to really sell them on something, right? But not really where I'm selling them something as like a fake way, but just really taking time to explain things in an earnest way, and in a way where they can understand the value and the benefit of why we do things. I do not have any expectations that anyone else here would be able to just do it the way I would do it. However, one of the things that I think is important is that for those that feel comfortable in having a conversation or taking time to explain those things, they have the tools and the resources available to them. So when they do go and speak to someone, they can feel confident. They can be comfortable reiterating what I've put out there, what we've put out there as a whole to do those things, right? I don't know how comfortable Minotaur or how comfortable Bacchus or how comfortable Shadow, right? Whoever it may be, for how they feel when they're going out and speaking to the effect of something. Right? That is important, is that we do not falter in that consistency. So if you don't, and this is what I've said before, right? If you don't feel comfortable in having a conversation with someone, reach out to me, reach out to someone else who you think would be able to speak to the effect. Or if you really want to try and tackle it yourself, which I always advise because I think it's good practice for anyone in management to be able to have those types of real and just honest conversations. I can tell you, everyone I've ever had a conversation with, even though they've given some pushback, and I understand why, right? There's always a way out. There's always a way to work within what we're doing to give people routes that they can take, even if it's not an immediate route that they can take right now. And sometimes just being able to speak to that and do it in a way where you know exactly what to say and how to kind of approach and address a situation is one of the most important things that we can do. Because what are we doing the majority of the time on a day-to-day basis? We're probably having a lot of conversations with a lot of people. And the way that we talk to people, the tone we exude, how we word things, those are so important to, one, avoid things like miscommunication, misinterpretation, and to try and be as clear as we can to deliver hopefully a good understanding for the person that we are sending a message to, and then how we're interpreting something. I think a lot of players probably undervalue how important having good people skills and good communication skills really plays into how we can develop a kingdom in a really good way. And that's obviously aside from everyone being on the same page. But yeah, I mean, I think to Tripp's point is that, the fact is that, there are some alliance leaderboards that say, hey, we accept a power minimum of this. Instead, right? Yes, sweetie. Oh, okay. Yeah, you want me to cut your orange? Okay. All right. I mean, I'm just trying to kill it right now in this chat, but that's cool. Just interrupt me with your orange asking. So, yeah. Hang on. But sorry. But the thing I was going to say is and I'll give an example of this. Right. I think an example of a solution. What do you mean you want it?
It's dirty.
What do you mean it's dirty? It's not dirty. It's from this orange, girl. That ain't dirty. You want the orange or not? Better make up your mind. Oh. No, it's squirted.
Not squirted.
Wait.
It's not.
Hang on, why did you throw that away? That's a perfectly good napkin. Oh my god.
No.
Yes.
No, Daddy, no.
Okay, hang on. Go get another one then. Why you say, girl? Why you say it's an orange? What, you don't want the orange? Okay, wait. Hang on, wait. Why don't you go get another napkin?
No.
Yeah, go get another one.
No.
Why are you saying no? How about yes?
No.
That's a really good answer. No? Okay, we're going to talk about it later. Have a little TED Talk. Okay, anyway, sorry. So the idea, going back to what I was saying, is that, right, an example of, I think when we have conversations like this, right, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate anyone's candor. And what I will say is I think it's really good when things like these hurdles, obstacles are presented that we try to provide good solutions, right? So we're kind of solution driven. We're proactive in providing how can we go about addressing this in a way that's going to have a net positive outcome. And an example of something, one, is obviously getting on the same page and reiterating that to officers and leads, but at the same time, think about if every alliance within the family and without, right, had updated their alliance descriptions. Here's a really good example, right? If you're watching my screen right now, I'll show this to you. And so this is something we've reiterated a couple times so far. And I think it kind of plays to what Tripp is saying, is that if I look at this, right, and let's just kind of go down one by one. And again, remember, this is not necessarily calling anyone out, but it is just to show what I think is an important point in how we kind of unify and how we synchronize areas across the board. If I look at the description here for Classy Strangers, right, this is good. One of the things I would add in, though, is I would have said, 2077 Kingdom Discord, right? Because that's something that we asked everyone. And we even sent a format out to all the officers and all the leads on how we would like for these to read, right? Where you have your name, you have the Kingdom Discord, Alliance Discord, and then you can kind of go into your position roles, right? So this is good. But again, it could be better by adding one more line there for the Kingdom Discord, right? Why? Because we want to try and get as many people to come onto the Kingdom Discord as possible. And typically, if you're thinking about alliances that will be clicked on first, usually it's the number one of the top alliances. Those alliances are usually going to be clicked on first. And so whether you're in game or you're out of game, the reason why you want to have the most important information at the top is because even though I'm looking at it on the PC client, I may not see all of this when I'm looking at it on the mobile client, right? If I'm on my phone, there might not be as much screen time. Like the Classy Strangers logo might take up quite a bit of that when I'm trying to pull it up on mobile. So that's why we have to understand that the majority of players are not going to sit there and scroll, right? That's just that's just an understanding, right? The majority of people that are going to click on the alliance, they'll look at the top. They might scroll a little bit, but they're not going to usually scroll all the way down. So this is why we always want to have the most important information at the top of an alliance description, because it's most likely going to be the most read. So adding something like that, I think, is something that, again, hashtag could do. If I look at Draco's alliance here, there's no Discord listed, right? This is something that needs to be added in. Super easy fix, doesn't take that much time. We add in the Kingdom Discord, we add in the Alliance Discord, right here, right below the Perfectly Strange 7 and above Perfectly Strange Together. Bam, we're set. Easy fix. If we look at Faceless, Queen, I love Queen a lot, but she's failing me right now. I'm just going to say that because I know her personally. You suck, but I still love you. Point is, could easily add this in, right? Not a big thing. And it kind of goes into what, right, just an example here of what Tripp was saying. It says 1.5 mil to join. Easy update to fix. Every alliance could do that, right? You add that right below. You have to think about like when you're having a newspaper delivered to you, right? What's the most important page on a newspaper? Does anyone know?
Headliner.
Okay, the headline. Okay, another way to say that. What's another example to say? What's the most important page on a newspaper or a magazine?
Sports section.
The sports section.
Political.
I hate you so much. So the most important page on a newspaper or a magazine is the front page. It's the front page, right? It's the first page that you read. It's the cover. Because why? That's the first thing you're going to see before you start diving into the information, right? To any of the other pages that are there. That is how we have to view an alliance description. Is that the information that's at the top should be the most up-to-date information or the most important bits that are being put there. So an example of how I might do some edits here is I would remove the 1.5 mil to join. I would remove I would lower the part here of Perfectly Strange Family. I would just lower that a little bit. I would add in Kingdom Discord, I'd add in Alliance Discord, and I would say, we in order to balance alliances in the kingdom, we fill whoever the current number 7 is. In this case, it is this alliance, right? And then you edit that in. That is how I might do something. And that's a proactive solution that any alliance can do. And it shows consistency when our alliance boards are using similar formats as well. That's another way to show that we're unified, even outside of whether or not we use the same alliance tags. Okay, so that's that. Now let's look at who's next on the chopping block. Okay, yo, who's winning right now? Crazy. Why you coming out hard in the paint, bro? This is Gucci. Why are you trying to impress me right now? Stop trying to be class president, class rep. Jeez. Anyways, good example here, right, of Bam. And look at this. Crazy even went above and beyond. He even included the vanity URL that we got from having tier 3 with the discord.gg/BOSSNASTi. Bro, first off, you trying to be my best man at my wedding? Calm down, okay?
I bet you, just for you.
Yeah, calm down. It's not that important, but I still love you so much. You get 20 points right now. So anyways, this is just one example. Right now, yeah, PB, they could still add their alliance Discord if they wanted to. And that's something obviously up to each alliance if they want to share. But in short, this is a really good kind of stock example on how you would do your alliance description. You have this information, you have this. Now, of course, even in this case, Crazy could still add the part there about how we do the alliance filling. I still think that could be added. But this is a good example of, again, how we would kind of want it to look top down. Now, if you add anything else in beyond that, that's fine, right? No one's saying don't add anything else in. But have a nice structure there of, like we said, alliance name, Kingdom Discord, alliance Discord optional, and then have some information maybe about how we go about doing the power balancing, right? I think that's really important. Like one thing that I'm working on with Lexi right now is doing an alliance introduction mail. So like the mail that you can edit in your alliance that when someone joins they'll get. Having an awesome, consistent mail across the board for when a new player joins is dope sauce. Like, that's something we really want to have in there. That highlights the Kingdom Discord, your Alliance Discord if you have one, and then some of the information about how we do the power balancing, what the game plan is to eventually distribute rally leaders between alliances, good practices for new players that are joining, like things like waiting for max helps, checking markers, reading mails, those types of things, right? If we could have a consistent introductory mail for when a new player joins that we can have everyone add in at their template or use a template and add that into their alliance and then just edit out the alliance specific parts, that's a great way to be unified on another level, right? So just another example. And then here we go, just so I can be consistent, right? If we look at Fresh's alliance,
Work in progress.
I like that. Work in progress. Work in progress. Yeah. So I'm sure a coding mishap or a slight wall bracket or something. But this part looks good. The bottom part here looks good. I don't know if they have. I don't see a Discord listed here. But again, that's something that could be added in. Right. Easy fix. Doesn't take a lot of time. Maybe a couple minutes. But can add in the Kingdom Discord there, and then the Alliance Discord if they'd like. And then we look at Rathan's alliance here, right? U.S. Strangers, again, has, right, no Discord that's listed. There is one, but it's at the very bottom, right? So easy fix here, right? Add it to the top. Bam, you're good to go. Add another line there about how we do the managing for the power balancing. Dope sauce. Everything else looks Gucci. Let's look at Ghost. Ghost has his, Infinite Strangers, right? Similar to Crazy. He just kind of has added in here, right? Ghost has a power minimum. Doesn't really matter about the power minimum, right? Because again, the idea is that people over 500K really should be applying. And eventually we're going to raise that, right? It might be more appropriate at this time to maybe raise that to 750 or maybe 1 mil for the people that are in the top 6. And we have been adjusting that, right? It wasn't 500K forever. It was upped, I think, a couple days ago. But again, this is a good example. You have the Alliance name, you got the Alliance Discord, you got the Kingdom Discord here, and then he goes into some of the information. Right? And so again, right, and even as the number 7, he could still say the same thing if he wants to add something in. But for the most part, right, if I'm doing kind of an objective audit on alliances, I would say at the moment, right, 2 out of 7 of the alliances have what I would feel to be at bare minimum, right, the important bits added, or I should say all of the important bits added into their alliance description. These are easy fixes. Again, it doesn't take a lot of time, a few minutes, and you can easily update it. But I think it kind of points out to what Tripp was saying before, which is why, and we're kind of hammering on what I was saying at a base level, is that it is just important that we are consistent across the board in as many areas as we can be. And these things usually do not take a lot of time, right? If you think about fixing a couple of these, or improving a couple of these areas, it's taking 5 minutes or so to update some descriptions. It's everyone choosing as an officer or lead to follow along with the processes that we've put out, right? So we can show a united front. For the people that don't feel comfortable or confident in speaking to others to the effect of why we do balancing the way we do and giving them good information so they know that it's not something they're locked in forever, reach out to someone. Ask for a template if you're just looking for a good response to send. There are options, right? Sometimes it's just a matter of, kind of taking that leap of faith and asking, right, or reaching out to someone. Right, I like to try and be the prime example, right? For anyone that's known me, I have no problem going out and asking someone a question. I have no problem going out there and finding information out that I don't know, right? But at the same time, again, I'm not going to sit here and expect that every single person needs to do that. I understand that pride at times is a factor, and I would just hope that if I can be someone who's going out there to ask what may seem at times to be such a simpleton, green, noobish, peon level question, then I think anyone could do that, right? And I just view it as a rising tide lifts all boats. If I can up my level of knowledge and my level of experience to try and do the best job I can do, then I would hope that others would at least make an attempt to do the same thing. So anyways, I ranted for a little bit there. I appreciate people listening to me and letting me kind of go through the lists. Now, if I can, because we're almost at 25 people, so I might have to turn the video off if one more person joins. But with that being said, let's kind of go through our open floor Q&A. I do want to be cognizant of everyone's time as well. I know we're we're at an hour and a half now, and at this point, Minotaur might be right on us going a little bit longer than I was hoping for. So let me do that to get that out the way, and then we can kind of go into how everyone feels. So Alfor, you're up.
No questions?
Okay. Girl, why you coming in here smiling? Like, what you... Get out your mouth. Let me see. Want some chips? Okay. Did you finish your orange? Okay. At least you're not big on chips for lunch. What time is it? 10? Okay.
Daddy.
Girl, just, man, she comes in here. She just used me for my hands. Just ridiculous. That's okay. She eats a lot of fruits and veggies, so every once in a while. Okay. Alfor, thanks. Terry, you're up. And I'm sorry, I haven't been paying attention to Kingdom Chat either, so I do apologize. Okay. And sorry, like I said, we're going through everyone right now. We're using Kingdom Chat, so if you want to type something out, if you're in a position where you can't voice, please feel free. You can start typing that out, and you can hit enter the moment I come to you. Otherwise, you can come on voice if you'd like, and you're more than welcome to. Right? We try to be as accommodating as we can. Next person is Shadow Rev. All right. And again, I'll wait a couple seconds. If I don't hear anything or if I don't see anything being typed in Kingdom Chat, we'll just go on, and then we can always come back for a second round. First order.
No questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Rizzo. It says several people are typing. All right,
He's a man, Hershey and step.
I'll come back, Rizzo. How about 8-bit retro?
Nope, everything sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you, good sir. All right, Crazy's up next. Or I should just say Mike.
He was typing in chat, so it's probably gonna be in there.
He was. Yep. He was. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Let me go through the Q&A. 100% gonna answer that though, because I know we talked about that yesterday too. But thank you for the kind reminder. I know I had that on the outline. I just wanted to try and get to people because I know we've already been going for an hour and a half. So just wanted to hammer this out. But if I forget by the time we get to the end, you be the good Samaritan to remind me, please, or I'm sure someone else will. Okay. Step L. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Step. Tripitaka. Which I'll have to ask you where that's from too as well, or if that's just something made up.
It means 3 baskets in.
It means what?
3 baskets. It's like a Buddhist or Confucius thing. Anyway, what I wanted to just say, I'm not angry. I'm just frustrated because if I'm being told and I sit in your meetings and hear that there's no power minimum and to send players, and then I send players and then they don't get accepted, and then that's just frustrating because I'm telling them, don't worry, I'll make this a smooth transition for you, we'll get you in, and then it's not, and then I'm told no. So that's all. I just want my word to be my word.
Yeah. And one thing I'll add on that I know I've let some people know, a really good thing to do is, because again, I think if you're an officer now, so like one of the things you can utilize when that happens, and this is something I've recommended to the teams, to the management team, is to use our team pings, right? So like we have, like you can go into the recruiting channel now. I think you should have access to that. And if you're going to send someone as an officer or a lead, go and ping that team. Right, you just do @ and then you type in team and then you just look for the alliance tag and just type that in and say, hey, I got a couple people coming your way, and that'll ping all of the officers and the lead, right? So anytime, like when I sent people over, I pinged them. Ghost was the first person to respond, and he said and he got the person in, so they just had a 1.3 mil that joined in the beginning of the meeting. So, again, following up and doing our due diligence on both ends. Now, don't get me wrong, it's great if you get someone or anyone gets someone that is coming in and they're like, okay, cool, where do I need to go? Or you've taken time to explain the situation and they're willing to go, right? Then the next thing we need to do for stage 2 is then reaching out and giving an update to that alliance's management team. And that can be done in that way, right? Or if you want to message them in-game or something, sometimes I find pinging them on Discord might be a little easier, more so than doing it in-game. But it just depends on what you want to do. My recommendation there would be just to shoot them a ping on Discord, so that way. And again, it'd be easier to do it in the recruitment channel. But even if you do it in officers, that's fine. We would just like to try and start having people do it there, and then that way someone can be alerted, whoever kind of is able to come on first, and then that way they have a notification. So often what I have been seeing is similar, and again, I don't know what you did or not, Trip, but what I will say is that I have seen a couple instances where someone will say, hey, I sent someone your way, but then they didn't ping or let anyone know, right? And then of course you hear what is a possible response, which is that, oh well, no one was online to accept me. And I've heard that from some players that were sent to IS or sent to another alliance to try to join, and there was just no one online in. So again, right, we have to try and look at what's the process that we're following so we can minimize the margin of error. And when we really do our due diligence to say, okay, cool, we took time to talk to this player, or hey, we sent this player somewhere, let's go and notify the officers and the leads, right, the people who can actually accept someone. So that way they're up to date and they know that, hey, someone's coming over. And I think as long as we're doing that, our margin of error should be very low, right? I truly believe that. But I appreciate letting me know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Alrighty. Also, always happy to hear another lovely lady's voice. I'm really happy with how much female presence that we have here in the group. It's nice. There's just too much masculinity for me sometimes. Sometimes it's a sausage fest. No offense to anyone. I love you all, but it's nice to get a little balance sometimes. Okay, Destroyer, you're up next. Okay, let's move here. Pizza Man. Nothing new to say. All right. I'm expecting my delivery in 15 minutes. Let me know when it'll be here. And let's go to Auntie.
Let's say the lower alliances, like the low power alliances, go down on like a download with activity. Will we try to like muster high power active players to try to replenish that activity and the growth of those alliances? Or are we just gonna like merge them and just suck them up instead of trying to revive them? If that made sense.
Yeah, no, completely. And so that's actually it's a good question. What I'll say there is a few ways to approach it. Let's say for whatever reason. Now, first off, I don't think that's the situation right now, given how well IS.
Oh no,
and
no,
even,
I'm talking
even,
about like future wise.
Yeah, and even US have been climbing. It's clear they've been climbing up the boards. They've been increasing power. They're both closing in on 100 mil. I think we have a really good upward trajectory. Now, I do think that trajectory could have been more, as I've mentioned before, than what it is currently. But I've also presented some ways on how we can address those things. I think that if that scenario happens later down the road, and let's just say there's stagnant growth, nothing's happening, it's basically break even or losing people, then yes. At that time, we would probably address and assess what is the best thing, right? Can we find a merge for them? Do we just need to fill their players into other alliances and use the alliance as a shell? I think there's a few ways to approach it. Like I said, I don't think we're at a point now where we would really need to like go hard and diving into how to address that or how to action that, which is a great place to be in. Let me say that first. But I think those are a few ways on how we could address it if it does happen.
Oh yeah, like this is the first ever kingdom I've been that's ever had more than like what 3 alliances that have more than 100 mil. Because it'd be like 250 mil, 200 mil, like 150 mil, and then everyone else is 50 mil and just dead. And then it's like, oh, GG.
Yep.
Like if you're not in the top alliance, then you're nowhere. But at least in this kingdom,
if you're not in the type alliance, you're nowhere.
It's different.
Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. That should be like a bolded statement for how many people view it. I shouldn't say many. I'll say a portion of players how they view, because it kind of goes
like
back
80%.
into the ladder climbing effect that also hints at what you just said. So yeah, because again, there's a portion of people that view it that way, where it's like I'm either in the number 1 alliance or I'm not, right? Or I'm in the top 2 or top 3 alliances, or I'm nothing. And thankfully, I don't think the majority of people feel that way, but I do know a portion of people in every kingdom will view it that way, unfortunately. And sometimes it just takes a moment to really inform and educate those people on things different. I mean, if you think about how many of you have probably had your own views, your own ideas, and you joined this project and you heard me speak on things, or you've watched some of my videos, or we've had some one-on-ones, I would be shocked if I did not give you the best form of a Jimmy Neutron Brain Blast in the best types of ways, where I'm shooting Care Bear lasers out of my face and my stomach in a direction that is yours, to give you more perspective, to give you more information, to just let you know that, hey, there's another way that we can do things, and that it actually makes sense. And then on top of that, I can prove it to you and show it to you on how I've had success in doing it. That to me is one thing I always love in having a conversation with people that have either played in one kingdom forever, they've played in 2 or 3 kingdoms for a while, and they've only ever seen things play out a certain way. Crazy and I were having like a super in-depth conversation about this, on how to play out KVKs and doing alliances and things, and he was giving me some updated information that I didn't know about, and we were just having what I thought was a great back and forth on how to on theory crafting and playing out certain situations, and I absolutely love that. Because there were some points he made that I just couldn't disagree with. They were just completely right. There were some things I said that I was able to kind of get him over and say, like, okay, that's something worth trying out and worth testing. And I think having those types of great open dialogue discussions on different viewpoints is how we can really not only grow, but try and think about that we all care about the same thing, and we just really want what's best. And sometimes, even though we may want the same end goal, the way we go about getting there can be different. And maybe we need to try something out one time. Maybe we need to go with the highest percentage play first, to see how something plays out. But being willing to have those conversations, those discussions, and hear from people's views is something I will never turn down, and I'll always be open to. But okay, thank you for sharing, Auntie. Bricktop, you're up next.
Yeah, yo, I would like to. It's more like a addition to than a question. I will set an example first. I had a alliance dismantling in my territory in like zone 2, and the top player was 600k. I reached out to every single leader or officer, and I offered them the players, and no one took it. So in defense of Queen here, it's more of a question of common sense. Like at this point of the game, no one is accepting 500k players. That's why we have academies, right? Because they just don't play the game. Like a player that played mildly the game should have about 1 million now, and that's what every alliance is asking, right? So in defense of Queen here, it's more like we are playing by the book. We are accepting players, low power players, but 500k is too little, to accept for any of our alliances. And I've proven that by requesting that those players went to those alliances. Just an addition to the previous conversation.
Yeah, and I think what you said is I think pretty standard for what we'll see. Where again, being just realistic for a moment, or maybe for multiple moments that we've been so far, everyone wants to accept high powered players. That's just a fact, right? No one's going to want to sit. If you had a choice between accepting someone who's 2 mil versus 500k, everyone would do that, right? And the reason why is because looking at it in an isolated kind of compartmentalized view for how every alliance acts within themselves, right? You are an individual alliance, but you are part of an umbrella, right? A bigger group. And what can be challenging sometimes is to put the kingdom's interests above your alliance's interests, right? Because as a leader, you represent the alliance. As an officer, you supervise and manage. You are an extension of the leader, managing the alliance. But first and foremost, when you think about your immediate vicinity, it is to your alliance. So it really takes a level of proactive willingness to action things that we do as a unit, right, as a whole. Because again, right, I recruited all the leads, I'd interviewed all the leads, right, recruited the officers where, some came in with good levels of experience, some came in a little newer, but we gave people opportunities, and then the leads were basically up to them on who they wanted to keep or who they wanted to demote or who they wanted to work with, right, but it was kind of in their court at that time. And what I will say is that every single leader I had a conversation with, every single leader I interviewed, this was specifically explained to them, right? Where I told them, I said, look, before you come on, let me just make this clear. This is how we're going to balance alliances. This is how we balance power. So not only was it stated in the interview, and it was made crystal clear to every single lead that thankfully is currently still here, which is great. I think sustainability is really important. But this was hammered home, right? So it's not like the leads have suddenly forgot. What it really, and again, this is not a slight at anyone, but I do think it's good that we don't kind of give anyone BS. I think if you're a true friend, right, you need to be able to explain something to someone, or if you care about people, you need to be able to explain things to people in a very honest and candid way without being a dick about it, right? Which thankfully, I attempt to not do that because I just don't think that's a good way to go about having a conversation with someone. However, I will say that speaking bluntly and just honestly, is that, yeah, it's important. Right, and when I think about all the leads that I interviewed we had maybe 30 applications, I think, at the end of the day. And if I think about all the leads that I interviewed, because I interviewed people for at least 30 to 45 minutes, right, before we decided whether the same day or the day after, for when we were able to respond to them to let them know, hey, we're bringing you on. This point was made crystal clear to people. And not only that, but we've reiterated it a few times already. We talked about it in the jump phase. We also have reiterated it, and I think partly in one of the newsletters, and then also in our management announcements, and even in the management meeting that we had before, the one that I think we're going to do later today again. And so all of this information, the current leads and or up to all of the current officers know. Like, they know what our processes are. They know why we do these things. And it's also been explained that, look, if you don't feel comfortable about addressing these things or explaining it to these players in a way, ask someone. Or even just ask me and say, hey, boss, can you hit me with the template that I can use to reply? Like I said, Crazy did that on the recruiting side. It took me a little while, but I got him something later that evening that he could use. So, I'll always make myself available when I have the time. But the bigger picture here, which kind of also goes hand in hand with what Tripp was saying earlier, is that it's a choice, right? You're either going to choose to be here and choose to be all in, or you're not. And if you're not all in, that's okay, right? Again, no one's forcing anyone to be a part of the project. If you feel that you want to go and try something else, I would always recommend people that you need to play where you feel you're having the most fun and the most enjoyment. But if you're making a decision based on a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge and why we're doing things this way, then I would challenge anyone to try and get an understanding first. Try to really find out and figure out why we're doing things the way we are, and then make an informed decision. But what I will say, and this is, you don't often hear me say things like this, but what I will say is a little disappointing, is that when I go out and I have conversations with people, and I'm building a relationship, or I'm trying to establish some rapport, right, from like an interview, for example, or what we do in our management meetings, and I have these leads that during, and if I'm just talking about the interview portion, if I have a lead and I crystal clear explain, like, hey, this is how we're doing things, are you on board with that? You agree with that? Everyone says yes, but then we're not getting that same level of care and attention to detail in following through on those processes. And what I mean is not just following through on the process of you saying, hey, I need you to go here. That doesn't do anything, right? It's got to be all or nothing, right? Where you're either going to really take the time to speak to someone, to inform them, to have a conversation and explain why we're doing things the way we are. And don't get me wrong, I have a realistic expectation that I'm sure the majority of people that are sending people are not doing that. Now, if they are, fantastic. Exceed my expectations, right? Please, I would challenge anyone, of course, to do that. And I'll always be here to provide resources for anyone that asks, or if I just find time to get ahead of it, and then just proactively provide those things. But that's the level of due diligence I'm talking about. It's, right, you message, like, someone applies for you, the very first person that sees that should reach out to that person and say, hey, look, I just noticed your power level is this, you applied, right? I would recommend you going and applying to IS, this is the reason why, right? And you take time to explain that, have a conversation with them. And like I said, if you don't feel confident or comfortable doing that, reach out to me, right? Reach out to someone else and say, hey, can you go and speak to this person? Or, hey, can someone share me Boss's template for a good response, right? Bam. Now all you got to do is just copy paste. And then at that time, you just leave it up to what's there. Trust me when I say, when the dust settles, I have no doubt in my mind that everyone here will be pleasantly surprised on what happens days and weeks down the road. Right? Rizzo can speak to this effect for what we did in 79 when we applied similar processes. And even in my most recent video, I don't know for any of you guys who watched my Infinity Kingdom video I put out a couple days ago, but I actually showed you screenshots from a kingdom at day 7, a kingdom at day 93 or 97, and then where the kingdom was now. Just to show you what went into balance. It's the same concept, right? There's nothing different from what you do in one kingdom builder to another. If you can migrate in a kingdom builder, you can recruit in another kingdom. Those things are consistent. It doesn't matter what game you're playing. The only difference is just how many people, what's your player pool that you're going to have? How many people can you potentially recruit versus not? And in Infinity Kingdom, there's not as many people that play that game as Rise of Kingdoms. So I can make the argument that it's more difficult and more challenging to balance alliances out. But it was still something we were able to do. Why were we able to do it as fast as we were? Well, we were able to do it as fast as we were because people were on the same page and people were consistent in their responses and how they addressed players across the board. Now, it doesn't mean that every single person was, but the majority or enough people were to get us to a balancing point as early as we did. And if you look at what we did on I think it was day 7 or day 9, our top alliances were all within 1 million power of each other. Now, the margins are lower in Infinity Kingdom than they are in RoK. But 1 million power would probably be an example of saying we're within maybe 20 million power, right, of each other in RoK, right, just to kind of give a ratio comparison. I think that might be somewhat average or accurate. And so it can be done, but it is a group effort. Right? And I'm not going to sit here and, give anyone a warning or a slap on the wrist, right? The thing I would always just ask people is that if you are here, be here. If you truly believe in what we're doing, then I would expect those people just as much as myself to follow along with those processes and the reasons why we're doing them. And like I said, if you want to have a conversation, or if it's something where you need some help or some guidance, again, always feel free to reach out. But like I said, it really has to be all or nothing. And the other thing is, don't feel bad. And this is probably the big thing: is don't feel bad about if you do your due diligence, you do everything you possibly could when it comes to someone applies to you, and just for whatever reason they do not go to whoever the current number 7 alliance is. Don't feel bad about that. Right? Take that as you did everything you could, and that was a great job. Right? I think sometimes what happens is that we're looking for like a 1-to-1 ratio conversion. Like we're expecting that, if we do everything boss says, or if we do everything this, like it's going to always work out. It does not always work out. Let me be the first to break your heart, is that it doesn't. But persevering through those things and consistently doing it, right? It's like the same thing if you're a newspaper salesman. Do you think every house you go to, you're going to sell a newspaper or get a subscription? No, there's no way. I know. I was a newspaper salesman when I was at the middle school or high school, when I was selling papers for like a year or two. And, the idea is that it's not about all the no's that you get. It's about the yeses that you get and accumulating those subscriptions so you can make more money over a period of time, understanding that you need a high volume to get to the margins or to the level that you want to get to. It's not to say that that's going to be the same way that it is here, but there's a good chance that it's probably going to be 50-50, right? It's going to be a toss-up on the people. But the area that we can impact is by taking the time, as I said, to inform, to give good information, to educate, to explain why we're doing things the way we are. That is how we can increase the odds of players saying, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. I understand now more of what you guys are trying to do. Who can I reach out? Let me go and apply to whoever the number 7 alliance is. And as the powers get closer and closer, having those conversations become what? They become easier and easier. Why? Because now the power gap isn't that wide. So you won't get people coming to you and saying, oh, well, this alliance is stronger, I want to join them. The idea is to try and get to that power gap, to close that power gap as fast as we can, right, within reason, so we can reduce some of those types of responses, right, and types of kind of resistance that we may get. Because if all of our 7 alliances were within 10, 20 million power of each other, no one could say anything, right? You could look at any of the alliances and say, well, they're pretty much all the same, right? But now we just want to kind of do the minor fine-tuning.
That
was a lot. Sorry.
No, don't worry. My point was that you saw my message to that alliance that dismantled, and I believe I'm doing my due diligence. And my point only was that only because we didn't accept a 500 player once doesn't mean that we are not doing it. If we were not doing it, we would be fighting for first place for sure.
No, I absolutely agree. So sorry. Go ahead, Brick.
No, thank you for explaining.
Okay. Oh yeah. And like I said before, I don't. Again, I think we can all look at the boards and we can see, for ourselves, kind of how they're playing out top down. And again, as I mentioned before, what I said is not a slight at any of the alliances or their teams, though I do think it is a healthy and friendly reminder on why us being unified and why us being on the same page is so important, and how some of the cons and some of the negative effects that can come from that. It doesn't mean that those things are going to happen immediately. More often than not, negative effects typically happen over a period of time, right? That they fester, where it's someone notices that, well, why is this alliance accepting people, right? I've got multiple messages from, Spidey or Draco's alliance for them accepting higher powered players. But I'm not going to sit here and, go and call them out, or as much as call anyone else out on it. But what I will do is provide a good friendly reminder and let people know that, look, we need to be consistent. And it's not enough to just say, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, which is that who's going to be the person to take the extra step? I can tell you, and some people know this, right? I respond to every DM I receive. And I treat every single person that has ever messaged me with the same level of due diligence that I would anyone. So if I need to go and find some information for you to get back to you, even if you're just a member, I'm going to do it. if I need to take a sec to really type something up like a paragraph because I think that's what your question or what your concern or what your message to me deserves and should be respectful of in how I respond to you, I'm going to do it. But I also understand that not every single person is either A, going to do that, 2, know how to do that, or 3, they would do it, but they just don't have the resources or know how to find that out. And so that's why I think it's important that we try to provide and we try to cover those bases as much as we can. And these are things that we can all do, right, to improve how we try to get from A to Z. Which is why when you saw me going through and looking at the alliance descriptions, those are super easy fixes. There's no reason to get mad at that for us not being 100% unified or synchronized. But I do think those are opportunities that we can point out that, hey, bam, here's a friendly reminder. Doesn't take that long. We can do an easy fix. Cool, we're done. And then, addressing and talking about the power balancing and accepting. I think a part of what's happening is that, one, yes, I think it's good for the leads to reiterate that to their management teams. But then 2, I think having resources so those officers and or maybe some of the leads, if needed, we can provide those on how they can respond to players, right? People that are applying to their alliance that are over the 500K cap, which again, like I said, we'll eventually raise that as well a bit. But just like I said, knowing how to respond, how to explain something, and being comfortable and confident in doing it is literally the number one most important part right now when it comes to internal Kingdom recruitment and placement for players that are trying to climb that ladder, understanding that they're doing this with purpose, right? Some of them are doing it with purpose. But if we can explain things in a good way to people, that helps out so much. I cannot stress it enough how many times I've taken the time to explain these things to people, and they understand. Even the people that didn't want to necessarily go to IS because they felt like they were placed, I think to either Brick or Minnow's point earlier, right? They were placed in an alliance on day one. Even though we came out and we told people, look, we're doing a transition right now to now place people that are coming into the kingdom on day 10 to start balancing out the power. And then I had an individual conversation with each of the players, for the ones that were not already assigned to IS, about saying, hey, look, we would just like for you to go here for now in the interim so we can raise the power level, get them a little bit closer, and then once the power of this alliance gets to the close to the alliance power of the one you want to go to, then you're more than happy to switch, right? Because there's less margin of error. There's less negative effects from that. But at the same time, this is why we work on it from the bottom end and the top end, right? Which is why it's really important. We shouldn't really, again, if you look at how the power is distributed, people are willing to go to IS. It's not like we're getting 100% return rate on people saying no. And given the fact that I've had conversations with people, I tell them, and again, sometimes it's just knowing what to say that can allow for players or just humans, because we all are, to feel at ease. And knowing, okay, cool, I'm not going to be here forever. I can go to this other alliance if I want. And I understand why they're asking me to go to this alliance, because it's going to help out the kingdom and all of the alliances as a whole. It's kind of hard to not at least understand that to where it could lead to a high chance of them accepting that and being okay with doing it in the interim, right, for those specific players. But like I said, we have to do our due diligence. In worst case, like I always tell people, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, reach out to me. I'm happy to do it, right? Me kind of being in my R6 role is kind of me just filling in where I'm needed, right, outside of the things that I'm doing. But I do hope that over a period of time, many of us will be able to get to that point, right, where many of the leads, the officers, and maybe even players will feel comfortable in explaining that to people. And I can't tell you, I will say, to give a shout out, not to say any names, but there have been a few people amongst the officers and leads who have reached out to me. And they've said in DMs, hey, boss, how would you address this situation? Or, hey, how would you word something in this? Because I want to make sure I'm able to do this so it doesn't necessarily get put on you. And I will say, I appreciate that. Because the more people that I think, it's the same thing, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. That comes with all of our levels of knowledge, our experience, and how we respond and how we address situations. If we could eventually have 50 or 60 people that can respond and address situations the same way I can, I mean, we're golden. Like, bring out the Golden Girls and let's do some high leg raises. I mean, we are swimming. My hooves are burning, baby. They're burning. Does anyone know what movie that's from? This is the second time I've made that reference.
Madagascar?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Yes, Madagascar. 10.5 points to you, good sir.
Imagine.
Yes.
Imagine not knowing.
There you go. And no, right, imagine not knowing. Just how awful all these other individuals are for not knowing that reference. But no. But this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. Is that like that is cause to celebrate to me. Because it means that one, we're getting on the same page even more. More people are able to address things in the same way that I would, right? Or the way that we're giving good advice and good information and resources on how to go about doing that. And now it's just an easier time for everyone, right? Where it's less workload on the overall amount of people that are contributing. So it really helps all around. Anyways, I'm sorry that took a very long time. I'm going to come back top down, but next person's Minotaur.
Okay, so to add on to that, the only concern that I physically have is, for example, I have an example, right? Is not to send people to IS. That's not an issue. It's the fact that when we send people to IS, they end up in DO77, or they end up in other alliances that cause other family alliances issues like caffeinated. For example, here's my example, right? Psycho. Anybody knows Psycho? Goes talk to Psycho a lot, right? He first joined. He sent an application to join our alliance because he was friends with a person in our alliance that's now wasn't R4 but now left. And I tried to send him over to Ghost, and he didn't want to go. And then I finally, right when I'm about to accept him, he found another home course, GG. But that's just an example. 2 million.
Minnow, if I can, if you don't mind, let me ask. And this obviously is, what I would expect anyone just to, respond candidly. Do you feel that you were well equipped enough in the moment to be able to explain and or address to Psycho on why it's important for him or anyone to fill into the number 7 ranked alliance?
I feel like he didn't want to go. That I feel like it was just like that person in our alliance he was friends with, and maybe like he wanted to be in the top. Like he wasn't like necessarily interested. I mean, like because he wouldn't. I mean, it's not. He just wouldn't respond. I mean, he just wouldn't respond. And usually when they don't respond to you, it's because they don't want.
Can I add real quick to that? I just sent you a DM boss of a message in global chat that says, Rank 1 Alliance has 1 free spot. Come join our family, our 7 alliances, and help us to develop the kingdom only for non-family players. So we are not dealing only with passive people going to the top guilds, but they are actively recruiting the top players. So it's not like they are refusing to play the game, but they are actively playing another game. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's not the equipment of Minotaur.
Yeah. So what I will say is it is twofold here, right? Because, I mean, what I would say is kind of back to Minnow before talking about the thing you just mentioned, Brick, is that just to answer the question, Minnow, again, do you feel like you were able to do it to 100% of the ability? Like, do you feel you could have responded to that person more or less how I would have responded to that person and explained, regardless of the pushback you got from them? Do you feel that you were able to do, and this isn't me putting you on the spot, but just to say, like, do you really feel comfortable and confident where you did everything you could have? You explained everything to a T the way that you would?
No, like...
Okay, and that's okay. And
no,
that's fine,
I mean,
but that's what I'm
I
saying.
don't...
Yeah. And what I'm saying is that's the point I'm getting at. Is that, and that's not a slight at you as much as anyone else. But what you're highlighting is the most important thing, right? Which is that it's good for us to all be on the same page, to be able to feel comfortable and confident, more importantly, to address those things. Because the one thing that we can now say is we have no idea how Psycho would have reacted or how another player would have reacted, right, if we were able to give them all the information that we needed to. And what that means is that that's an opportunity that we could have had, but we missed out on, right, just because we weren't able to explain those things, regardless of what the outcome would have been, putting our best foot forward. And that's one of the reasons why I also want to try and get some of those template messages out. So that way if you or anyone wants those things, right? And I'll even, and if I have any example messages of me talking to people in game or on Discord, I'll take some screenshots so I can provide some references as well for how I communicated and how I said those things to them. But I do think that's really important, right? And I appreciate your honesty as well, Minotaur, because I can guarantee you that I'm sure there's other officers and maybe even other leads that don't feel confident or comfortable in being able to address those things. And you know what? That's okay, right? But acknowledging that and trying to improve from that so we can be better overall is really important, right? Throwing away that pride and just saying, you know what, look, again, this is kind of why I was talking about before, being a member in management in this type of a project is probably completely different than being a member of management as an officer or a lead in... Damn, that girl must have walked out so fast. That girl's a straight up ninja. She was behind me the whole time. But it goes back to what I was saying, is that, being an officer and a lead in my project is, we do things at a higher standard, right? And I don't expect people to immediately be on that standard. But what I would hope, and yes, yeah, okay, you don't got it now, girl. Come on.
Daddy,
yeah.
can I go outside?
Oh, we're gonna go outside in a little bit, and then we'll go jump. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let me finish, and then we'll go. Okay.
Okay.
All right, California. Anyways, so sorry. Right, and like I was saying, I don't have some unrealistic expectation or standard that I place on anyone. But what I always ask, and what we did explain in the beginning as well, is that we do have a higher level standard of doing things, and we want to try and get everyone to be on that standard in the way that we do things. And that's why being an officer, being a lead, there is a lot more to it than probably the average alliance that you've played in before. And I'm saying you as in a general you for anyone here, right? And I'm sure people can probably notice that, and you can tell that we do, expect the willingness to try, the willingness to make an effort to try to do those things, right? To get on the same page. Because if I'm willing to do it, in my position, in my capacity, and I'm able to lead by example, then I would hope that other people would respect that enough and say, you know what, boss is always taken his time to do that extra step, right? If you think about my plate load for everything I have to do, and then you look at how much an officer does on an average basis, or as much as a lead, right? There is time. There is always time that we can make and we can take in order to address those things and explain those things to people. Oftentimes what it usually comes down to is just not knowing, right? You don't know what you don't know, right? It's just not knowing on how to say things a certain way or how to type things out a certain way. But that's why it's okay to ask. It's okay to say, hey, can I get a template, right, on how I can address these things? Because it just kind of goes into all the opportunities missed. And these things actually kind of go into a bigger thing, which is player drop-off, right? Every opportunity that we miss on addressing, or we don't do it in the full way that we could, can factor into player drop-off. That can factor into people migrating out, lowering activity, stopping to play. And don't get me wrong, we have phenomenal activity right now. We have phenomenal player activity. We have phenomenal alliance activity. You can tell that from the boards, especially if you've played in other kingdoms and you've kind of seen trends for on average where alliance powers usually are and how many active alliances there are. And just looking at how we have different alliances that are here in this chat. Right, so those are great markers and identifiers for where we're at. But it still comes down to trying to retain the most amount of people that we can. And like I said, the sooner we get on the same page with how to kind of address and capitalize on those opportunities to where we can at least do our due diligence, that's really important. But sorry, then going to what Brick said real quick, which is the message that he screenshotted that Spidey posted, is... sorry, that he posted is that, yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot I could say there. It wasn't like Spidey said, hey, we want the strongest player to come, so to speak. But that would have been, I think, a little different if it was worded in such a way. However, he could just be doing that to try and get someone else to apply that is at 500K or under. Again, right, that's my hopeful expectation. Even if it may not convert that way, I guess we'd have to wait and see. But yeah, it just kind of goes to the same thing, right? Which is, when we post things, like a good example, I have a template message that I put together because Crazy asked me about it and a few other people did. that talks about here's all of our alliances, here's the province they're in, and then here's the alliance that we recommend joining based on balancing power. And that's a copy-paste message. Any member, any officer, any lead can take that message and post it. And even if they want to do their own message, that's fine, just as long as we hope it would be in line with what the recruiting flow is, right? It would have been better in that situation for Spidey to say, hey, anyone who's 500K around, close to 500K or under, right, can apply. That probably would have been a better way to write that message, so it's just more clear and more specific. But yeah, I mean, it kind of goes into what Trip was saying, and I guess what Brick was bringing up there right there. But sorry, let me go because I think I'm only gonna have a little bit of time left, but I do want to try and get to everyone that is here first. Pishes. I'm butchering it. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say the maid. So. My belly. Oh my God, we're already over 2 hours. I'm killing it right now with these 2.5 hour meetings. Pishes, thanks.
He said no.
Okay. Hershey.
No questions.
Time of questions. One pass is awesome. Salker. Or sorry, Queenie. My apologies. Queenie.
I'm good.
All right, Queenie is good in the hood. Thank you, Queenie. We appreciate it. Alrighty.
Welcome.
There ain't no hood in England.
Yeah, Salker. Oh yeah, level 1 passes. Oh, that's probably why we're getting a little drop off because the pass is open in 12.5 minutes. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'll try and shorten this.
Tier 4 March.
Okay, so Salker, no worries. Okay, let me go back up to the top here and just go through
Draco,
everyone we hadn't
didn't
called on. Yeah, Bad. We're just giving any feedback or questions, comments, concerns, if you have any you want to share. Okay, no worries. I think we called Terry. Shadow. Ghost is here.
I've got nothing.
Okay.
Bob Tommy shows up.
Okay, I'm shocked.
Damn,
We
gang
were all
gang.
shocked.
Yeah. I was getting a little hello there. All right. What did I say? Rizzo, Bit, Con, Trip, Destroyer, Anti. Oh, where'd Draco go? Oh man, Draco must have just left.
Man, poor Draco.
I came back.
I was going. Yeah, he did. I was going top down though to try and get back to him. Hershey, Queen. Okay, awesome. So yeah,
Rizzo as well.
Oh yeah, Rizzo.
Yeah, I came back. I was driving and my phone died, and I was going to say get back to me anyway.
Okay, yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah, so you're last on the list then. Go ahead.
Well, I don't really have a question, and I was going to say two things, but I think you've covered it, flogged it to death.
Okay. Well, no, please. I mean, I regardless if it's flogged, I still think it's important for people to hear from others, right?
Well, I just wanted to say that we're more than 10 days old now, and people at City Hall 16 can migrate here. So those are the players that we're looking for. We're not looking for 500K players that don't have enough activity to get to City Hall 16. And that leads into our activity problem. We need to replace those players to become more active and attract those active players. And that's basically what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm. All right now I got 3 people sitting at 2 mil in my accepted list, but they're probably just wanting rewards, so I didn't really message them.
Yeah, we've just accepted all of those because we can't tell if they're here to stay or just for their pass.
Anyway, pass level 1 rewards.
Yeah, and I think in that situation, like Minna brought up, right? It's totally okay to reach out to those people and to say, hey, are you joining just to get some rewards? What alliance are you coming from? And that's totally fine to ask. I think that's well within reason to ask. That way you just know, right? Is this someone I just need to remove after rewards come up, unless we can get someone else from a family alliance? Or do we use these people as kind of a last resort, right, to add someone in so they can get those? Or also, are they looking to join? And then that's an opportunity now that you found out, right, because we messaged them. Right? It goes back to what I was saying, right? We don't know what we don't know. If we don't take the opportunity or the time, and this just goes for anyone in general, to reach out to someone, and especially when you have these people that are applying to your, higher ranked alliances, those are the best opportunities to really, again, do that due diligence, have those conversations, right? Do the probing, right? In my line of work, we call this the need to know, right? We call it probing, right? You're asking probing questions because you're trying to figure out Why are they applying? What's the reason behind why they're applying, right? Do they want to stay? Are they just here for rewards? Once you start figuring out the need to know, then you can address their needs, right? Where you can give them good responses. You can give them good information. This is how I go about when I have conversations with people. When they ask me, hey, boss, I want to leave. I want to go join. And I get messages sometimes from players, not too often, which is great. But I'll get messages saying, boss, I want to leave my alliance and go to this other alliance. Okay, can you share with me why you want to leave the alliance? Or what do you think the other alliance that you want to join is going to do for you that this alliance can't? And that's not me saying that, no, I'm going to deny your request, but I want to know the why. And I think that's important because more often than not, once I know the why, I can address it appropriately. And I can tell you from experience, more often than not, again, once I take the time to explain those things to people, they're completely fine with staying where they are. Because, one, they know they'll eventually be able to join the alliance, but also because I take time to explain why it's important, why we're even asking people to do this, and how it affects the kingdom and our alliances within the family. And again, sometimes just having those conversations can be great, right? But we need to know where to start from, right? Where do we start a conversation from? And we can only figure that out if we ask. So, and people appreciate that. I can't tell you how many messages, and this is probably the one project so far out of my 7, right, as the 8th project now that I've run, where I've had the most amount of people that have reached out to me in DMs and said, boss, I just wanted to reach out to you and say thank you. I really appreciate everything you do, the fact that you get back to everyone, and just things like that. In my other projects, I rarely got that. And to me, it doesn't matter to me, right? I'm not in it for the recognition, right? I'm in it to make sure that we're doing good by all the players here in the kingdom. And we're making good decisions that are going to benefit every player and as many alliances as we possibly can in the kingdom. Doesn't matter to me if you're within the family or not within the family when it comes to how we make decisions. Would, of course, I ideally love for our 7 family alliances to, be included with other alliances? Of course, I would. But it's important that we have a level of objectivity so we can make good decisions that are fair and balanced for everyone involved. And I hope, at least at minimum, from that front, that people can appreciate that, right? Being a part of this kingdom is that we're not here to play favorites. I'm not here to do under-the-table deals. Like, what you see is what you get from me. And so I at least hope people appreciate that, right, on another front. But okay. That, I think, is it for me, unless Draco rejoined, and I'm just missing his name. Okay, I'm not. So yeah, guys, look, that's it. I need to get off. I am going to go ahead and turn this because I literally have to go